I'm Aaron Hirsch with Triathlete, and this is how you attach a stem. You're going to need three tools for this process. One is a 4mm Allen wrench, a 5mm Allen wrench, and a torque wrench. The torque wrench is especially important if you have a carbon steer tube, because those are susceptible to being crushed if you tighten the stem bolts too tightly, which destroys the part and makes it unsafe to ride. So to take off your stem, you're going to begin by loosening your top cap bolt. On this bike, it's a 4mm wrench required to remove this bolt. So you unscrew it all the way, set it aside. Next, you unscrew the stem bolts. I have the front wheel removed because the additional weight can force the fork to fall out of the frame once you loosen these bolts. You're going to unscrew them, this Allen wrench, loosening one part of the way, and then taking the other off completely before returning to the front. With these two bolts loose, you should be able to lift your stem. Now there's a couple different reasons you would want to do this. One would be if you're packing your bike to travel, you're going to have to remove the stem. Another possibility is if you want to adjust the height of your bars. I'm going to remove two of these steer tube spacers so I could set the bar 1.5 centimeters lower. With them removed, I slide the stem back over the steer tube, which is this column here, put the spacers back on, and then grab the top cap. First step in putting your bars back on the bike is tightening this top cap bolt. You don't want to go crazy tightening it, but it has to be tight enough that you put pressure on the upper and lower headset bearings, which are the bearings that allows your bars to move back and forth smoothly. Once you have that tight, you want to roughly align the fork with the bars. We'll come back to that later. The next step is tightening these stem bolts. I'm going to begin by screwing these in loosely using a standard wrench, making sure I'm not tightening it too hard. Next, I'm going to take the torque wrench. Here on the stem it says 8 Newton meters, which is the maximum torque that can be applied to this stem bolt. Oftentimes, forks with a carbon stem will have a torque limit lower than 8 Newton meters. 5 Newton meters is most common, but in this case, I'm going to set my wrench to 8 Newton meters. Before tightening the stem bolts, remount your front wheel. This will serve as a guide to ensure that you put the aero bars back on straight. It's actually quite difficult to line these things up straight, so we pull the bike down from the workstand, set it on the ground, and I'm going to mount it. It's only from this angle that you can truly tell when the aero bars in the front tire are lined up parallel. From this vantage, I'm going to grab my torque wrench. With the front wheel and the aero bars lined up parallel, I'm going to begin tightening one of the stem bolts part of the way. Before my torque wrench indicates that I've reached the recommended torque, I'm going to change sides and tighten the other one part of the way.
Cool.
I'm going to return to the first, and I'm going to wait until the head of my wrench snaps, which indicates I've reached the torque recommendation. There it goes. Now I'm going to return to the first bolt and do the same. One final check, and the bike's ready.